All right, let's watch this revenge unfold. 5 years after Arthur's biological parents brought him home, they actually stepped into the kitchen to cook him a massive feast, but honestly, he could not even fake a smile. Why? Because they were scheming to hand over the very company Arthur bled to build to his precious adopted brother. However, Arthur was not mad. He agreed right on the spot. You see, he had been reborn. In his past life, Arthur fought tooth and nail against giving up the company. As a reward, his adopted brother framed him for an affair, in a completely desperate, naive attempt to save his marriage and his parents. Arthur chose to take the fall for a massive fire his brother started, facing prison in his place. Who would have guessed that after his release, they would toss him onto the streets? Like literal garbage, his lovely wife did not just remarry his adopted brother. Even his daughter happily started calling Blake dad. As for Arthur's biological parents, they just watched coldly as he died of illness, so hitting the reset button on life, the very first thing Arthur did was accept an invitation from the city's wealthiest matriarch to become her adopted son. On the day his wife was set to remarry Blake, Arthur planned to deliver them a massive gift. He wanted everyone who ever hurt him to feel the bitter cold of standing in a freezing downpour without him there to hold their umbrella. Mr. Arthur, after signing this inheritance agreement, you will officially become the son of Mrs. Sterling, the old butler said, handing Arthur exactly what he needed: the hard evidence to fake his death and vanish. A stage 3 leukemia diagnosis, clearly stating the patient only had 1 month left to live. Arthur nodded. Please tell Mrs. Sterling that in 1 month Arthur Grayson will cease to exist in this world. There will only be her son, Zachary Sterling. Under the sunset, his car rolled down the road toward home. Sitting in the back seat, Arthur hid a faint sadness, quietly looking out the window. Nobody knew that 3 days ago he had been reborn. In his past life, at age 7, he was kidnapped and sold to a mountain village. Heartbroken, his parents adopted Blake, a boy his exact age. 10 years later, even though Arthur was finally found, his parents had already given all their love to Blake. Arthur, the biological son, was left out in the cold. Fortunately, he was a massive workaholic with elite skills. In 5 years, Arthur took the Grayson Group public, elevating the family status in the city to crazy new heights. But not long after, Blake committed arson, causing severe injuries. Facing 10 years in prison, their parents actually knelt and begged Arthur to take the blame to protect Blake. Arthur, you grew up in the mountains. You are used to hardship, his mother had wailed, but your brother is totally different. He has been spoiled since childhood. He will not survive in prison, his wife Lily continuously promised him. Arthur, no matter what happens, Mia and I will always love you and wait for you to come home so we can be a family. Arthur sat in that cell for 10 brutal years. You ready for this? Release day. Other inmates met tearful relatives, but Arthur stood there from dawn till dusk. Not a single car from the Grayson or his wife's family showed up. During the 10 years he served, Blake's sentence, the adopted brother stole his life, becoming a glamorous CEO. The woman who swore to wait for Arthur married Blake in his 2nd year behind bars. His own daughter changed her tune and called the traitor dad. When Arthur learned the twisted truth, his hair turned white overnight. In his final moments, lying on his deathbed in a freezing alley, his daughter Mia stepped out of a luxury car in a stunning dress. She pinched her nose, her face twisted in pure disgust. Dad, why bring me here? I don't want to look at this beggar. His parents, arm in arm with Blake, gave him dead, cold eyes. How did we raise a son like this? You completely embarrassed the Grayson family. Lily stood the furthest back. When he reached out a trembling hand toward her, she just turned away. But get this, he wakes up before Blake started that fire. You and I know he's dropping them all. Before he even opened the door, he heard his daughter Mia crying in the living room. I don't want to. I want Uncle Blake. He buys me toys and takes me for ice cream. Dad always makes me do things I hate. I hate Dad. He listened quietly, biting his lip. As a pathetic twinge hit his heart, Mia had a weak stomach and even. While running a massive company, he never forgot to watch her diet. Blake, on the other hand, spoiled her completely, giving her everything, making them closer than a real father and daughter, but years of love only bought him his kid's absolute hatred. Well, no more. He walked right into the living room without even looking her way, calmly telling the maid, "Open the fridge and take out all the ice cream. From now on, the little miss can eat whatever she wants and do whatever she wants. Nobody is allowed to stop her." Mia looked totally stunned. Really? Are you serious? He just stared at her, his eyes completely dead. Don't you want to see Uncle Blake? I will take you later. You can stay at the main house as long as you want, even if you never come back. Totally fine. Mia cheered with pure joy, running to pack her cute little bag. He glanced over at Lily, his supposedly beautiful and gentle wife. That exact face once easily convinced him to take the fall for Blake. Now, knowing exactly how cold she truly was, she just seemed incredibly boring to him. Lily looked squirmy under his heavy stare. She frowned slightly. You are acting different today. Did something happen? He smirked faintly. Nothing. I just realized I hate living such an exhausting life anymore. Stick with me here. He was planning to fake his death. Whatever their future held was none of his business. Lily and Mia were no longer his wife and daughter. Why waste any more energy on total strangers? A soft hand landed on his shoulder. Lily gently rubbed it, her voice crisp and sweet, like a perfect melody. When are you going to make time for us, even if you quit working? The Grayson family wealth is enough for you and Mia to live comfortably forever. Why put yourself through so much stress? His whole body stiffened, remembering exactly how she conned him before. He quickly swatted her hands away and stared at her in silence. When she started looking a bit flustered, he suddenly let out a laugh, acting like his icy glare was just her imagination. Come back to the main house with me, he said. I have something to announce to the family. The second they walked through those main house doors, little Mia launched right into Blake's arms, turning on the cute charm. Uncle Blake, I missed you. You look so handsome today. Your smile is so pretty. The kid, who was normally an absolute crying tyrant at home, was suddenly as sweet as honey for him. Our MC stood to the side, totally deadpan, and shot a cold glance at Lily. She was also staring at Blake, eyes brimming with just pure adoration. Catching Arthur's stare, she quickly snapped back, parting her lips to speak. Right on cue, Blake strolled over, holding Mia's hand. They were actually wearing matching outfits. Blake smirked at Lily. Hey sister-in-law, does this matching outfit I bought Mia look good? He tugged the kid's hand, making a goofy face at Lily. She startled slightly, but with Arthur standing right there, she hid her smile and simply nodded. Mia never wears pink, only you could convince her. Blake shot Arthur a totally smug look. Mia just adores me. You aren't jealous, right, bro? Staring at that supposedly innocent face, memories from Arthur's past life suddenly flashed like a movie reel inside his head. His nails dug fiercely into his palms. The sharp pain reminded him to keep absolute cool. Arthur, his dad's voice rang out. We made your absolute favorites today. Try them. Our guy turned. The table was completely packed with mild home-style dishes, his exact dietary preference. In his previous life, Arthur's stomach was totally ruined. He couldn't eat spicy food, but Blake loved spice, so every single family dinner was usually a sea of red chili oil. Today was the one major exception. His dad had actually cooked an entire table of his favorites, just as Arthur thought he was finally getting a tiny crumb of real family love. He heard the cruelest sentence imaginable. Arthur, your mom and I talked. From now on, you don't need to manage the company anymore. Just rest at home, take care of the family, let Blake handle everything. The heavy, pressuring stares from the entire family made Arthur feel like some criminal stealing what rightfully belonged to Blake. Nobody here seemed to remember that before the company went public. Arthur collapsed from pure exhaustion, ending up in intensive care multiple times, and while Blake was casually vacationing abroad, nobody remembered. That when his mother got diagnosed with liver cancer and desperately needed a transplant, Arthur was barely recovering from a severe illness himself, yet he still laid down on the operating table to donate his own liver. Back at the dinner table, Mia's face flushed with excitement as she yelled, "Uncle Blake, will you really give me absolutely whatever I want?" "Dad is so incredibly stingy," Lily chimed in gently, her voice crystal clear. "Arthur, even if you don't work, I can totally support you and Mia." His mother waved her hand dismissively. "I am still the absolute pillar of this house. It's decided." His dad looked at him with teary, expectant eyes. "Arthur, be a good big brother and yield to him just a little." In his previous life, on this exact day, Arthur exploded and cut ties with the entire family. He declared that unless he was dead, he would never hand the company over to Blake. But this time, Arthur's gaze calmly swept over everyone at the table: his mother, his father, his wife, his own daughter, and that adopted brother of his. He just gave a faint smile and spoke first. "Mom, Dad, since we're on the topic, I have a big announcement too. Starting tomorrow, I want to hand the company completely over to Blake's management. I am officially retiring to be a family man." That single decision instantly turned the tense atmosphere into a massive party. His parents beamed at him with warm smiles he had never seen before, actively piling food into his bowl. "Arthur, we are so incredibly pleased you're thinking this way." Blake is still a bit naive. Amidst Mia cheering, "Long live Uncle Blake," Arthur just stared at the mountain of food in his bowl with absolutely zero appetite. He glanced up at Lily. Sure enough, her eyes were glued to Blake with absolute, sickening devotion. No one even noticed when Arthur quietly got up and left the room. After that family dinner, he completely stopped. Let's skip the office. 10 days later, while Arthur is just jogging on the treadmill in his home gym, his phone suddenly buzzes. He opens it up. Blake tagged him in a social media post. The guy took a selfie right in the CEO's office, wearing a sharp suit, totally trying to mimic Arthur's elite businessman vibe. The caption reads, "A new beginning." Less than a minute later, the entire family rushes in to show support. Mom writes, "Good boy, work hard, we rely on you." Dad says our Blake is all grown up. Mia comments, "Uncle Blake is the best." Lily keeps it short, "Keep it up." Reading those warm, encouraging words nobody ever bothered saying to Arthur, his eyes sting. A heavy wave of pure exhaustion hits him hard. He turns off the treadmill, just wanting a shower. Then Blake sends another message. "Bro, the family is throwing a huge celebration for me tonight at the Cloud Pavilion. You absolutely have to come. There's a surprise for you." The final message is a photo, Lily leaning right against Blake, showing off a flash of her slender calf. Yeah, the implication there doesn't need any explanation. Fast forward half an hour and Arthur arrives at the Cloud Pavilion. Pushing open the heavy door to the private room, he instantly hears a very familiar voice. "Lily, when are you going to divorce him? Do not tell me spending time together made you actually fall for the guy." Following a brief silence, Lily's crisp voice shoots back, "How could I? How could Arthur ever compare to you? If it was not for that arranged marriage, why would I have even married him? But you just took over the company. Things aren't stable yet. I need to stay and help you keep him perfectly under control." Buzzing sound fills Arthur's head. His blood basically feels like it is flowing totally backward. He stumbles, barely caught by a passing waiter. "Mr. Grayson, are you okay?" Arthur forces himself to stand steady. "I am fine." His eyes are completely bloodshot. Looking up, he sees his own parents happily handing out tips to the staff. He just stares, his eyes burning worse than ever. His dad spots him, flashing an incredibly awkward smile. "Arthur, what are you doing here?" They definitely hid this from him, completely terrified he would show up and ruin Blake's little party. Seeing his dad's sheer awkwardness and his mom's annoyed glare, Arthur feels entirely redundant. "I came to support my brother," he says, his voice shaking. His eyes are blurred, his face so pitifully pale. Is he completely worthless now, not even allowed to attend a basic family dinner? His mom frowns, looking like she is absolutely about to explode. Right then, Mia's cheerful voice echoes out. Grandpa, Grandma, in arts and crafts today, I made a paper. Rose for my absolute favorite Uncle Blake. Mia runs happily straight toward the door. Mistaking Arthur for Blake, she throws herself joyfully right into his arms. He hasn't experienced this kind of warm, pure affection since she was barely under a year old, back when she was a chubby toddler clinging to him. But when Mia looks up and realizes he is not Blake, she reacts like she just saw a literal ghost. She quickly hides the paper flower behind her back. Her eyes fill with total disgust and extreme defensiveness. That unspeakable pain invades Arthur's heart all over again. The door opens fully. You and I both know who's walking out, Blake and Lily. Seeing him, they both go pale. Lily panics slightly, hurriedly stepping away from Blake and coming right over to Arthur. She asks so gently, when did you get here? Why didn't you come inside? He just stares at the woman he shared a bed with for 7 years. He used to think she was naturally cold, but it turns out her coldness was just because she never loved him. This marriage was merely a compromise to protect another man. Arthur's lips curled into a bitter, mocking smile, his eyes full of absolute disappointment. This is your family party. How could I dare intrude? Lily stiffened, her chest tightening up. Arthur, don't say that. Her fake comfort couldn't heal the gaping wound in his chest. He looked at his parents, his voice dead calm. I have things to do. I won't interrupt the family reunion. Suddenly, Arthur started coughing violently, frantically covering his mouth. When he pulled his hand away, it was covered in fresh blood. His parents' faces changed slightly, and Lily's fingers twitched, just as everyone was about to step forward to check on him. Blake suddenly clutched his chest, grimacing in totally fake agony. Mom, Dad, my heart feels weird. The second he cried out in pain, all attention instantly snapped to him. His mom frantically called an ambulance. His dad anxiously rubbed his back. Lily ran to buy his specific medication, and little Mia sobbed, mumbling, Uncle Blake, please don't hurt. Don't hurt. Arthur hadn't walked far. He clearly heard Mia whine. I want Dad to take the pain for Uncle Blake. His legs felt like they weighed 1,000 pounds. He closed his eyes, gritted his teeth, and forced himself out of the hotel, hailing a taxi to the hospital completely alone. The doctor told him he had experienced extreme emotional trauma and absolutely could not get angry again. He rested at home for several days. Aside from the maid, Lily and the entire Grayson family were camped out at the hospital taking care of Blake. Not a single person remembered that Arthur was also sick. On New Year's Eve, he was home alone boiling some frozen dumplings. The maid had gone back to her hometown for the holidays. Luckily, Mrs. Higgins had seen how thin he was getting and wrapped some extra dumplings for the freezer. Arthur quietly watched the steam rise from the pot, the absolute only source of warmth in the entire house. Just a few days ago, building management abruptly announced the heating was completely broken. He called several times, but they just kept making excuses. You and I know Blake paid them off. It was minus 10 degrees outside, and it wasn't much warmer inside. He was wearing a heavy winter coat, scooping up his dumplings when Blake video called him. Bro, we are celebrating the new year on an island. Are you doing okay at home by yourself? On the screen, Blake looked ruddy and super cozy in a perfectly tailored cashmere sweater. Right behind him, Arthur's parents were sipping tea and chatting happily. Through the window, he could clearly see Lily and Mia setting off fireworks. The joyful atmosphere was heartwarming, but it had absolutely nothing to do with him. Once again, his family had totally abandoned him, leaving him alone in a freezing house while they partied on a tropical island. He didn't even feel sad anymore. I'm fine, he replied calmly. Sorry to disappoint. Blake laughed provocatively. I heard you coughed up blood that day. What a real shame. Mom and Dad were only worried about me. They totally forgot about you. I was afraid you would get scammed by some quack doctor, so I froze all your bank cards. If you feel sick, just drink lots of hot Water, haha. Since taking over the company, Blake didn't even bother pretending anymore. From off-screen, Lily's voice chimed in. Blake, who are you calling? Nobody, just wishing a friend Happy New Year. Blake quickly hung up, but not before Arthur heard Lily's final sentence. Your stomach is weak. Drink less alcohol, you will get a stomach ache. So much for 7 years of marriage. Honestly, he really didn't care who Lily loved anymore, but what he couldn't stomach was her and Blake openly flirting right in front of his own parents, and get this, his folks acted like it was completely normal and fine. Pain shot right through him, his eyes stung hard, but then the doorbell suddenly rang. Mrs. Sterling's butler carried in a literal mountain of New Year's gifts, presents. Mrs. Sterling prepared just for him, making up for the 30 long years he had missed since birth. Mr. Grayson, Happy New Year. The madam wishes you peace, joy, and prosperity. He had suffered through the freezing coldness and betrayal of his own family. But seeing these beautifully prepared gifts, his tears finally spilled over. For 30 years, his biological parents treated him like a useless tool, but Mrs. Sterling, a woman with zero blood relation to him, cared like a true, loving mother. He wiped his tears, stating, seriously, in 10 days I will arrive at the Sterling residence exactly on time. On that day I will truly be reborn. He only opened about half of those amazing gifts before crashing hard on the sofa. Dead of night, a loud noise from the upstairs bedroom violently jolted him awake. He snapped his eyes open. A totally strange silhouette was sneaking around in the pitch dark. Then it hit him. In his past life, this exact house was broken into. Random woman had barged into his bedroom. Lily caught them, completely assuming he was having a dirty affair. From then on, total hatred. Nasty rumors about him immediately spread through high society like absolute wildfire, making the Grayson family viciously claim that he brought them endless shame. Add in Blake's arson stunt, and they used it to make him take the fall, but this time, his reflexes triggered. He quickly ducked straight into the downstairs bathroom and called the Sterling family security, desperately asking the butler to come right back and save him. In his previous life, she realized he was about to call the cops and tried smashing the glass to reach him, but this time around, the butler arrived with an elite team, subduing her immediately. By the time he finished up the police report and finally got home, it was past midnight. The exact second he walked in, he saw Blake and the whole family sitting formally the living room, waiting for him. Mrs. Sterling's expensive New Year's gifts were neatly stacked in the corner. Blake was holding a super rare limited edition watch, his eyes wide with totally fake shock. Bro, we weren't even home today. Who gifted you something this insanely expensive? If I remember correctly, this specific watch is a massive collector's dream, right? Blake paused, looking over at Lily with a highly suggestive smirk. Lily, her beautiful face twisting with pure anger, glared right at him. Wow, I seriously underestimated you. Staring at her dead serious expression, our guy just couldn't help but find the whole thing hilarious. She clearly didn't love him, but when she suspected him of cheating, she played the furious, jealous wife absolutely perfectly. If he hadn't overheard her true conversation that one day, he might have actually believed she really cared. These gifts belong to a friend. I am just holding them, he casually replied. Totally indifferent, not caring at all whether they believed him. The scratch on his arm was pulsing with pain. He was grabbing the first aid kit when Lily suddenly yanked his arm. Her usual gentle facade was gone. Her eyes darkened, making her look like a total stranger. With her lips pressed tight, she aggressively pointed at a woman's scarf dropped on the floor. What kind of woman leaves her scarf at a guy's place? Friend's house. Lily's grip tightened. As Arthur tried pulling away, it just aggravated his wound and he hissed in pain. Lily quickly let go, looking completely flustered. I wasn't squeezing that hard. Seeing blood seeping from Arthur's arm, she jumped back, her brows furrowing. You got hurt. You stayed home for New Year's Eve and somehow managed to get injured. She complained about his clumsiness, but her fingers were visibly twitching, clearly wanting to inspect the wound. but Arthur looked up, shooting her an ice. Cold glare, Lily's hand froze right in midair. Why are you looking at me like that? Arthur just stared at her. Then he marched straight over to the downstairs bathroom and kicked the door open with a massive bang, the chaotic, totally destroyed scene. Inside was fully exposed. Lily and his parents just stared in absolute, stunned silence. Watching their reactions, Arthur let out a bitterly disappointed, mocking laugh. Burglar, I almost didn't live to see the sun come up today. Meanwhile, all you guys have been doing since I walked in is trying to catch me having an affair. Right? His parents looked at each other, completely speechless. Lily sighed softly, slowly walking over, sounding totally apologetic. I am so sorry. I shouldn't have left you home alone. She could save those empty words for his grave. Arthur's heart didn't even flinch. He stared intensely, coldly at Blake. I am very curious. This is a high-end neighborhood with strict security. Why would some random woman recklessly break in on New Year's Eve of all nights? Did she somehow know in advance that I was the only one home? Hearing this, Blake avoided Arthur's gaze, but tried acting perfectly calm. Well, maybe she had been watching you for a while and scouted the place, or maybe you actually knew her. Arthur just sneered and nodded. Fine, if this woman is that dangerous, let's just let the police handle the investigation. Blake's voice suddenly pitched up in panic. Don't press charges. His bizarre reaction made everyone turn to look right at him. His own parents seemed to figure something out, faces going completely pale as Blake looked like he was about to cry. His mother, totally heartbroken, wiped his fake tears and turned to Arthur. Half coaxing, half scolding. They already caught her. Why make such a huge federal case out of it? Do you think making a huge scene is glorious? Arthur, stop causing trouble and just let it go. Arthur used to think his parents only favored Blake because they couldn't see his true colors. You and I know Arthur wanted to expose his real face. But honestly, who would have thought that, when their actual biological son was almost killed, they would still choose to protect the criminal? Why did Arthur's head hurt so damn much? His eyes swept over them like invisible blades, cutting away the very last shred of attachment he had left for the Grayson family. A slender hand rested on his shoulder, Lily's soft voice whispering right into his ear. Arthur, as long as you're safe. That is what matters here. Let me handle the police. I won't let you be in danger ever again, okay? She was totally terrified that if he pushed the investigation, Arthur would drag Blake down with him. His heart cramped so painfully, he was about to shove her away when someone suddenly rammed hard into his back. Arthur crashed to the floor, a sharp shooting pain traveling right up his spine. It was Mia. She was crying hysterically, loudly screaming the absolute sharpest words imaginable. Bad dad, you bullied Uncle Blake, you made Uncle Blake cry. Just die, bad dad. Lily pulled Mia back, but the little girl's legs kept flailing, trying to kick him. Guys, right in that moment, the world seemed to move in slow motion. Arthur's vision narrowed down to just Mia and Lily. His ears rang with the echo of Die Bad Dad. Suddenly, a single tear rolled down his cheek, something deep inside. His chest swelled up so much, his heart nearly burst. That suffocating feeling just kept growing stronger. A few seconds later, Arthur couldn't hold on anymore. His vision went completely black and he passed out cold. Waking up, he was in a hospital room. Every single exhale fogged up his oxygen mask with thick white mist. His body felt completely like lead. Just moving a fingertip took massive effort. The nurse next to him saw his eyes open and rushed over. Mr. Grayson, you are finally awake. You have been in a coma for 3 days. Mrs. Sterling visited several times. If you had not woken up, this whole entire hospital would probably have jumped off the roof. Arthur chuckled weakly at her words. Besides Mrs. Sterling, did anybody else come? The nurse just shook her head. No, I was here the whole time and saw absolutely nobody else. Your housemaid actually called the ambulance. Good thing we caught that blood clot in time, or you would be a vegetable for the rest of your life. Arthur frowned hard. He remembered passing out back at home. His entire family was standing right there, yet he was in a coma for 3 days and not a single one of them visited the hospital. His heart turned to absolute ice. Remembering the doctor's strict warning, Arthur took a deep breath. Forcing himself to stay perfectly calm, he rested in that bed until evening. Mrs. Sterling heard he was finally awake and called to check in when Lily's name surfaced. She was absolutely furious. That Lily girl is way out of line. You almost died, yet she is. Glued right to Blake's side. I will teach her family a serious lesson to vent. Your frustration. Before Arthur could even process what she meant, Blake suddenly sent him a video. You and I have to see this. Blake was wearing a patient gown, his bangs were damp, his face pale and pitifully weak. Beside the bed, Arthur's parents had red puffy eyes from crying. A woman's slender hand was gently holding a spoon, patiently feeding him warm porridge. The wedding ring on her left ring finger was exactly identical to his. Who else could it be but Lily? Blake took a sip, then another tiny hand suddenly appeared, feeding him a peeled orange slice. A child's incredibly sweet voice said, Uncle Blake, get well soon. I do not want you to be sick. So that was it. His entire family went totally missing in action because Blake had also been hospitalized and they were all busy playing nurse. Arthur just closed his eyes and turned off that video. Happiness was a luxury he could not afford anymore. He simply wanted a little peace and quiet, but even that incredibly simple wish was denied. Not long after, his entire family rolled Blake's wheelchair right into Arthur's hospital room. Arthur, Lily croaked, looking exactly like she wanted to say something but stopping. Those dark circles under her eyes were super prominent. In just 3 days, she visibly lost weight, looking utterly and completely exhausted. The whole gang showing up. You and I know this means terrible news. Before Arthur opened his mouth, Blake dramatically threw himself out of his wheelchair, kneeling right by his bed and crying, Bro, I have a terminal illness. My time is running out. The moment he said that, Arthur's dad burst into tears. His mom sighed, patted his dad's shoulder and looked at Arthur with red eyes. Arthur, we came today to ask a massive favor on Blake's behalf. Let Lily stay by his side before he passes away, just to take a set of commemorative wedding photos. The sheer absolute absurdity of this request left Arthur completely speechless. He sat in total silence for a long time, verifying he had not lost his hearing, seeing those expectant looks on all their faces, almost as if they just expected him to agree. Arthur laughed coldly, and if I say no. Arthur, how can you be so cold-blooded? Your brother is dying. His dad lunged forward, his bloodshot eyes screaming at Arthur with pure shock and absolute disgust. Reflected in those eyes, Arthur saw his own pale, totally lifeless face. He replied, his voice dead calm, spoil him all you want, I do not care, but as long as Lily and I are legally married, I am absolutely not agreeing to this insane request. Unless, Arthur locked eyes with Lily, his gaze completely freezing over, we get a divorce. Lily froze for a second, her pupils shook slightly, a quick flash of pure, raw anger crossing her face before twisting her lips into a smirk. Fine, then let's divorce. Arthur, her cold voice rang out perfectly clear. I don't just want wedding photos with Blake this time around. I want to throw a massive, grand wedding with him. Dropping that bomb, she helped Blake up and they left the freezing hospital room was totally empty. You and I know this pain. Arthur sat completely dazed. Only when his tears finally dried did he make his ultimate choice. At midnight, a taxi pulled right up to a luxury villa, wearing literally nothing but a thin hospital gown. Arthur stepped out. He stared at the massive house that was once his home. Gripping a cheap lighter in his hand, he walked inside. Traces of their happy little family were everywhere. Mia's absolute favorite doll still sat on the rug. Her messy scribbles on the wall remained untouched. Lily's scarf was casually draped right over the sofa. Just days ago, those two were happily playing house right here in this exact living room. Choking back heavy emotions, Arthur tore his eyes away, walking straight up to the second floor. He marched right into the walk-in closet, past rows of crazy expensive designer suits. He dug out a cheap white jacket, the exact one Lily And he bought in Las Vegas on their honeymoon. They had joined a wild mass wedding. Ceremony over there, under the bright neon-lit streets, Arthur casually bought this simple white jacket from some street vendor, pulling Lily right into the dancing crowd. They were totally drunk, swaying happily among total strangers. After one dance, Lily's hands stayed glued to his waist, refusing to let go. Her drunk, totally infatuated eyes looked right up at him, so incredibly gentle. Arthur felt himself drowning in them. She whispered that she truly loved him. He didn't get it back then, but now Arthur realized the hidden dark meaning behind her words. Little Mia was conceived that exact night, people say. Child born when their parents are deeply in love turns out especially beautiful. As a toddler, Mia had cute chubby cheeks, pure snow-white skin, and massive eyes. Like dark grapes, she really was a gorgeous kid, unfortunately exactly like her mother. Her eyes and little heart only cared about Blake. Arthur carried the white jacket alongside their wedding photos straight out to the garden, two things that were once his most prized worldly possessions. The second he flicked the lighter, they were instantly swallowed by hungry flames. Finally, a sudden gust of wind blew the ashes away. The fate tying him to his family was severed forever. Stick with me, here is where it gets worse. He heard something at the front door. Joyful, happy laughter echoed through the hallway. Mia, your mom and dad are getting a divorce. From now on, can Uncle Blake be your dad? Blake's gentle voice felt like a cold knife twisting right into Arthur's heart. Mia cheered. Yes, Mia hates dad. Mia loves Uncle Blake. I want Uncle Blake to be my dad. Blake sounded so incredibly smug. Good girl, go take a bath. If you're good, I'll give you chocolate. That tone sounded exactly like he was coaxing a pet puppy, but Mia, let's watch this play out. She noticed nothing, happily running to the bathroom. He hid right in the living room, his heart completely shattered. Lily finished parking her car and walked inside. Blake instantly lunged forward, grabbing her waist tight. Lily, I have waited forever for this. He eagerly tugged at her clothes, whispering quietly, I prepared a surprise for you tonight. Lily blushed hard. She gently held his hands, giving him a warning. Mia isn't asleep yet. Don't let her see this. She is a good girl. She went to bathe by herself, Blake replied, his eyes burning bright with pure lust. Let us go to the bedroom and continue. He kissed her neck, and the two stumbled right into the master bedroom, completely wrapped up in each other. Once that door clicked shut, Arthur waited a bit longer before stepping straight out of the shadows. His face was much paler than it was at the hospital. He stared up at that second-floor bedroom with pure, absolute revulsion. He turned to leave when a loud scream suddenly pierced the air. It was Mia yelling from the bathroom. He sprinted through the thick steam and saw her sprawled out on the wet tile. He rushed to help her up, but the second she saw his face, she violently shoved him away. Who let you back in? I have a new dad now. I do not need you bossing me around. Her cold, distant glare stabbed him right in the chest, but it was exactly what he needed to snap out of his delusion. He let go of her and stood tall, his voice freezing over completely. You are right, you have a new dad. So you obviously do not need my protection anymore. Before leaving, out of the final tiny shred of fatherly duty, he gave his last piece of advice. If you eat candy before bed, your teeth will turn black. Watch out for cavities. Honestly, those were the final words he ever spoke to Mia Grayson. Dripping wet, the girl watched his retreating back and suddenly felt a ping of unease, but the thought of her handsome, sweet Uncle Blake quickly washed it away. This wedding between Blake Grayson and Lily wasn't a massive spectacle. You and I know why. Because too high society, marrying your brother-in-law the second he is gone was not exactly glorious, but Blake was still dressed to the absolute nines in a sharp suit, snapping selfies and spamming Arthur's phone with them. Bro, my wedding is starting. Shame you are not here. Do I look good in a suit? Lily says I look way better than you did on your wedding day. Reading those texts, our guy was sitting on a private helipad, preparing to board. He only carried a small briefcase. Inside were the core financial documents that absolutely controlled the lifeblood of the Grayson business empire. looking at that endless stream of gloating texts. He just smirked. He pulled out his SIM card, snapped it, and tossed it in the trash. He turned to the elite security team. Mrs. Sterling had sent him, please, in exactly half an hour, announce the news of my death. He had to make sure his little brother received his grand wedding gift right on time. The security captain bowed his head low. Yes, young master. The helicopter landed right in front of him. He stepped onto the red carpet, taking one last look at the city sky. It was as crystal blue as the day his parents brought him home from the mountains, but this time around, he was leaving for good. 2 hours later, that helicopter touched down. Arthur Grayson had completely vanished from the earth. In his place stood Zachary Sterling, the newly recognized heir of the Sterling family. As for Lily and Blake, oh, they would soon taste what it really felt like to be abandoned by everyone, and the Grayson empire, it was about to be swallowed whole in a brutal corporate takeover. Arthur wanted everyone who had ever wronged him to freeze in the cold without his umbrella. Meanwhile, at the wedding, Lily walked arm in arm with Arthur's mother down the floral aisle. Sweet little Mia, playing the flower girl, tossed white petals into the air. Lily stared right at Blake, the man she had adored for 10 long years, but somehow she didn't feel a single ounce of joy. Instead, the image of Arthur in his wedding suit kept flashing in her mind. Now, you and I need to watch the screen behind. The altar flickered to life. Arthur's face appeared, incredibly massive. Hello, everyone. I am Blake's older brother, Arthur. I am so sorry I missed the wedding today because I am currently dead. The entire hall erupted. Absolute chaos. Lily stood there frozen like a statue. The wedding ring slipped right from her fingers, clattering onto the floor. The screen switched, displaying Arthur's official medical certificate: stage 3 leukemia. Estimated time remaining 1 month. His pre-recorded video continued. His face looked ghost white as he spoke slowly. Mom, Dad, I know I was being petty. Blake was suffering from a terminal illness, yet I was too stingy to let Lily take wedding photos with him. But hey, everything worked out perfectly. Now I have handed my wife over to him completely. You guys cannot possibly be mad at me anymore, right? He smiled in the video. Congratulations to my ex-wife and my brother on tying the knot. Wishing you a long, happy, loving marriage until your hair turns gray. Suddenly, 2 streams of blood dripped from his nose on screen. He hurriedly covered his face and reached out to cut the feed. The screen went pitch black, plunging the entire massive hall into this incredibly eerie, dead silence. Lily's eyes were blown wide with pure disbelief. Her heart felt like it got injected with an indescribably bitter, sour ache. The ring remained forgotten on the floor. Arthur's parents were equally paralyzed, staring in absolute, freezing shock for what felt like forever. It was not until Mia naively tugged his mother's dress and asked, "Grandma, what does cremation mean?" That brought them snapping back to reality, their hearts tearing in two. Guests started murmuring, "The older brother isn't even cold in the ground yet, and the sister-in-law is marrying the younger brother." The Grayson family is an absolute circus. A highly respected elder of the community stood up and walked right out the door. One by one, other guests followed suit. In the blink of an eye, the grand hall, which held hundreds of people, became totally empty, cold, and echoing. This unexpected disaster made Blake look exactly like he had just swallowed a live fly. He was absolutely furious, cursing Arthur 1,000 times over in his head. Why did his brother return and humiliate him when he was already dying? Could he not just die quietly? Arthur's dad choked back a heavy sob. His poor boy was so sick. Why hide it? Meanwhile, Blake panicked, forcefully suppressing his rage to put on a pitiful face for his dad. Arthur voluntarily divorced Lily, making this huge scene at my wedding. Is he not just trying to get pathetic revenge? I do not care if I am humiliated, but what will people think of the Grayson family now? As soon as he finished speaking, a cold scoff echoed from the back. Everyone turned. We are about to meet the one guest who had not left yet. A tall woman in a sharply tailored black suit stood there, Radiating absolute, icy authority, she steps forward, taking her time. Her sharp eyes lock right onto Blake, a look so cold he visibly shivers. Lily frowns, putting her guard up. Who are you? Are you on the guest list? But this woman's presence, totally overwhelming, her eyes remain deadly calm. Overflowing with confidence and pure disgust, her voice drops below freezing. You don't deserve to know my name. Lily tries to step up and grab the woman's arm, but before she even gets close, boom, massive bodyguards slam Lily straight to the floor. Seeing this, Blake stumbles back, absolutely terrified. His face goes completely pale. Who are you? The woman just flashes a mocking smirk and raises her left hand, right there on her index finger, a gleaming silver crest ring. The Graysons and Lily stare at it. Their anger instantly turns into pure terror. Listen, this is the crest of the absolute top-tier financial titans, the Sterling family. She definitely notices their panicked, pathetic reactions. Her lip curls in disgust as she casually waves a hand. The bodyguards let Lily go. Then, the woman hurls a thick stack of documents right into Lily's face. Her ice-cold gaze sweeps over the whole group. Open your pathetic eyes and look closely. For years, Arthur swallowed your abuse, and none of the people who bullied him will ever get away with it. With that, the mysterious woman turns on her heel and walks out. Arthur's dad shakily picks up the scattered documents from the floor. He catches a quick glimpse of two words: organ transplant surgery, but Blake suddenly snatches the papers away. His face turns completely paper white. He is desperately trying to hide his massive panic behind a fake smile. Dad, Arthur's body is heading to the crematorium right now. If we leave immediately, we might actually see him one last time. The stolen papers visibly tremble in Blake's grip. Arthur's dad feels a flash of suspicion, but the thought of Arthur lying all alone in a crematorium just causes too much pain. Let's go right now. We cannot let Arthur leave this world completely alone. The entire family piles into their cars, speeding straight toward the suburban crematorium. Arriving at the desolate mountain facility, thick black smoke is already billowing heavily from the chimney. Arthur's parents completely freeze in their tracks. Arthur, his mom wails. Why did he? Lily, her eyes bloodshot, violently grabs a passing worker by the collar. Where is Arthur Grayson's body? Did you already burn him? The worker, totally startled by the crazy screaming woman, shakily pulls out his logbook. We received a man named Arthur Grayson today. He had a surgical scar on the left side of his abdomen from a liver removal. Is that who you are looking for? Arthur's mom snatches the logbook, sees his ID photo, and her eyes instantly flood with tears. It is Arthur. She and his dad look down at the attached records. They spot a surgical note from 5 years ago detailing Arthur's liver resection. That was the exact time his mother desperately needed a liver transplant, but right after the surgery, Arthur had rushed overseas for an emergency business trip. He got caught in a riot and couldn't return for 3 long months. To keep his parents from worrying, he never mentioned the surgery. And here is the worst part. Blake twisted the story, telling them Arthur was a coward who ran away to another country because he was too scared to donate his liver to save his own mother. Arthur's parents simultaneously snap their heads right toward Blake. Their eyes are wide with shock. Blake, didn't you tell us your Arthur refused to save her and ran away? You have been lying this entire time. Blake scrambled backward, totally panicking. I didn't lie. Arthur really did run away abroad. But the medical records held the brutal truth. Arthur Grayson had a portion of his liver removed. Who else could have saved their mother? A tidal wave of pure agony crashed into the father's chest. He stared at Blake, the adopted son he had pampered and endlessly loved for over a decade. His heart was literally aching with unspeakable pain. You lying bastard, because Blake was sickly growing up. Arthur's dad had poured all his energy into him. Even after finding his biological son, he tried being fair, which usually meant favoring Blake. But you and I know how this goes. This adopted kid not only stole credit for saving the mother's life, but actually intentionally tore the family apart, making her genuinely believe Arthur was a heartless monster who left her to die. Blake was the reason they treated Arthur like total garbage, thinking about his real son suffering from a terminal illness, dying completely alone and misunderstood. The father felt like a massive chunk of his soul had been violently ripped out. Blake panicked and threw himself right at his father's feet. "Dad, I didn't mean to lie. You raised me. If I could have saved Mom, I wouldn't have hesitated, but Arthur is dead now. His death had absolutely nothing to do with me. We can still be a happy family. I'm still your good son, right?" Hearing these utterly shameless words, the father completely exploded. He raised a shaking hand and slapped Blake across the face with all his might. "Get out. Get the hell out of the Grayson house. From today on, you are no son of ours." Blake's cheek turned bright red, 5 distinct finger marks perfectly imprinted on his skin. He just couldn't believe he had actually been hit. He frowned in pure, genuine shock. "You hit me over something that happened years ago." The father was so furious, he raised his hand to strike again. "You made Arthur suffer so much. Why the hell shouldn't I hit you?" Lily hesitated, but stepped in to hold her father back. She looked closely at Blake. His face was red and pathetic, but suddenly Lily realized what we already knew. Everything about this guy was fake. His tears were fake, his kindness was fake, even his so-called love for her was probably just a complete facade. She had only intervened out of the old habit of protecting her childhood friend. The father glared straight at Lily, his eyes full of grief and burning rage. "You still want to defend the bastard who killed Arthur?" Lily froze, thinking about her brother's tragic death. Her gaze toward Blake turned ice cold, and she silently stepped backward, creating distance. The father turned back to Blake, absolutely roaring. "I was so blind to invite a wolf into my home. It took Arthur dying to see your true colors. I will never forgive you. Return every single property and share of stock in your name immediately." Blake wiped away a fake tear, stood up, and let out a truly contemptuous laugh. "Sorry, Dad, I can't do that. No one expected Blake to be this incredibly thick-skinned." The furious father got into a massive screaming match with him. The two men completely turned on each other, displaying the absolute ugliest sides of human nature. But the company stocks and the official corporate seals were firmly in Blake's greedy hands. The Grayson family sued him several times and lost every single case. The mother, entirely broken by the immense stress and anger, suffered a massive heart attack and was rushed into the ICU. After a frantic emergency surgery, she woke up weakly, whispering Arthur's name. Richard sat by his wife's bed, eyes bloodshot, blaming himself for not spotting a backstabbing snake. He treated a wolf like family. Blake had completely frozen their accounts, weaponizing his wife's critical condition to ruthlessly blackmail the old man. He forced Richard to sell all his real estate, luxury cars, and heirloom jewelry back to him for absolute pennies. "Right now, not a single person in this entire city dares to lend you money," Blake sneered. "Even if you put assets up for auction, it takes 6 months for cash. I'm afraid her illness won't wait that long. You'll just watch her suffer and not save her." The old man growled, staring at Blake with pure hatred, voice shaking. "How could your heart be so utterly poisonous?" Blake just laughed it off. "How can you blame me for being toxic? It's clearly because you two are just incredibly stupid. When I relied on you, I had to kiss your boots. Absolutely terrified you'd kick me out, but now that Arthur is dead, why do I need to play nice anymore?" He threw the brutal asset transfer contract right at Richard's feet. "My time is valuable. Think it over very carefully. Then come find me." Richard couldn't believe it. This adopted son he had raised was actually exploiting their literal life-or-death crisis to this sick extreme. His vision literally went dark. He almost passed out. Blake didn't even look back. As he walked away, moments later, heavy security guards violently grabbed Richard and literally tossed him out of the Grayson Group headquarters. Even in his worst nightmares, Richard never imagined being violently ejected from his very own Company stumbling out into the busy street, he was nearly hit by a speeding car. Boom, a hand reached out, yanking him onto the sidewalk. Richard stared at the young woman. She flashed a press badge. Now watch closely, things shift here. Richard Grayson. Right, I'm Stella, a reporter for Stars Coming Home. I heard that 15 years ago you adopted Blake Grayson, the current CEO. Would it be convenient to chat? Richard's eyes instantly lit up like a drowning man finding a rescue rope. Convenient, very convenient. Whatever you want to know right now, I will tell you everything. Late that night, Blake finally arrived home, took off his expensive jacket, and tossed it aside. Lily still wasn't home, ever since that completely ruined wedding. She constantly found excuses to stay away, sometimes entertaining clients, sometimes taking random business trips, remembering how those two used to sneak around behind Arthur's back. You and I know Blake was plagued with paranoia, but knowing he was the one in the wrong, he forcefully swallowed his bitter frustration. While he was already in a terrible mood, little Mia ran up. Dad, can you tell me a bedtime story tonight? Looking at Mia, whose face and eyes looked exactly like Arthur's, Blake froze. His expression turned incredibly dark. Story. He aggressively grabbed the storybook, ripped it to shreds, and threw the pieces right at Mia. You're not even my daughter. Why the hell should I tell you a story? Stop crying. Cry, cry. Cry. I hate crying kids the most. Shut your mouth right now. Mia's eyes widened in absolute horror. This terrifying, aggressive guy was completely different from the sweet, gentle Uncle Blake in her memories. She was so terrified, hot tears rolling down her face as her tiny body trembled. Blake grabbed her arm and squeezed hard. I said, stop crying. I want my dad. I don't want Uncle Blake. I want Dad, Mia shrieked, making Blake's head absolutely pound, unable to take it. Losing it completely, he grabbed her collar, dragged her to the bathroom, and threw her inside, locking the door tight. You like crying so much, keep crying until you are done. Trapped in that pitch-black bathroom, my little Mia felt like terrifying monsters were about to jump out and attack her. She screamed and sobbed until her voice went completely hoarse, but nobody came to save her. Exhausted, she curled into a tiny ball in the corner, weakly whispering, I want Dad. I do not want Uncle Blake anymore. Meanwhile at the club, Lily stared at her phone. 4 a.m. The sun would be up in an hour. Her screen was absolutely flooded with missed calls and texts from Blake demanding she come home. Lily just frowned, turned off the phone, and let out a heavy sigh. You see, ever since I died and Blake moved into our house, the two of them fought constantly. When it was just me and her, we could talk about business, music, or the news. We never ran out of things to say. But Blake, he only cared about flashy cars, pricey watches, and showing off his power. He constantly tried controlling her, terrified she did not actually love him. They fought over everything. The arguments kept piling up, so she started spending her nights wandering outside, refusing to go home. This was the bitter price for betraying me, and she had no choice but to swallow it. Lately, memories of me kept popping into her head, but she knew I was gone forever, wandering absent-mindedly. Down the hallway, she suddenly caught a glimpse of a familiar silhouette walking past. Thinking her eyes were just playing tricks on her, she rushed after him. When she caught sight of that sharp, unmistakable jawline, her blood instantly started boiling. Arthur, that man walked straight into a VIP room, heavily guarded by two massive bodyguards. Lily tried to follow but got blocked immediately. Miss, this is the young master's private room. Nobody enters without permission. Then Lily noticed the Sterling family crest pinned to their suits, remembering those wild rumors that Mrs. Sterling finally found her long-lost son. A heavy wave of suspicion hit her. Was this the Sterling heir? But I ask you, how could two guys look so absolutely identical to me? She quickly explained, I am Lily, CEO of Lily Corp. Please tell young Master Sterling I just want to offer a quick toast. The bodyguard went inside. A few seconds later, he stepped back out, looking even colder. Young Master Sterling says he does not know what Lily Corp is or who you are. Please Leave, this guy was completely merciless. Lily frowned, getting ready to force her way inside when her phone suddenly rang. It was our maid, sounding completely frantic. Miss Mia grabbed Mr. Grayson's memorial portrait and ran away from home. Lily was totally shocked. Abandoning her plan to crash the VIP room, she sprinted to her car and sped straight home. My Mia was only 5. Sure, she was a little tyrant, but incredibly timid. She could not even use the bathroom at night without someone holding her hand. Why would she suddenly run away like this? Arriving home, Lily immediately interrogated the maid. Did someone bully Mia? The maid stammered. Too terrified to speak, Lily's voice dropped dangerously low. Tell me, I promise no one will punish you. Mr. Blake locked the little miss in the bathroom all night long. This morning, I found her passed out from pure terror. I ran to call the doctor. And when I came back, the miss and Mr. Arthur's portrait were gone. Hearing that Blake had locked a 5-year-old girl in a dark bathroom all night, a wave of pure agony hit Lily. She asked hoarsely, where is Blake? He just left, the maid. He whimpered, claiming he had some crucial morning meeting he absolutely could not miss. Blake Grayson, Lily absolutely roared. She stormed straight to the Grayson group headquarters. On the way there, she called her closest friends, organizing a massive search party. For Mia, she even texted her parents, checking if the kid ran to their old house, but finding out Mia was missing, that just poured gasoline on her rage. Kicking open the door to Blake's office, she caught him making out with some young, pretty secretary. Lily's anger completely shattered past the boiling point. Blake, you absolute piece of trash. Do you have even a single shred of conscience left? That roar made Blake jump. He scrambled up, hastily fixing his suit. Lily, why are you here? Lily just closed her eyes, desperately fighting off the heavy urge to literally murder this man. She screamed at the secretary. Get out. The girl scrambled away in total panic. The office air turned suffocatingly cold. Lily took slow, calculated steps forward. Her eyes were like pure ice, completely ready to slice Blake wide open. He felt a freezing chill down his spine. His voice shook as he tried to explain himself. Honey, it is not what you think. I was just playing around with her, just doing business. Lily let out this deeply dark chuckle. Then suddenly she grabbed his collar. She gripped it so fiercely, she practically slammed him right into the wall. I was blind choosing you. I threw Arthur away for you. If you want to degrade yourself and cheat, fine. But the exact second I leave the house, you actually abuse Mia. You terrified her into running away from home. I am not letting this go. Blake shook his head frantically. I did not abuse her. I was just going to lock her in for a minute and let her out. I just forgot. Lily ground her teeth, her eyes totally bloodshot. She is 5 years old. What massive crime did she commit that forced you to lock her in the dark? She tightened her grip, choking him until his face went completely red. He coughed, his hands desperately trying to pry her fingers away. She cried way too much. She was being a brat. He croaked out. Hearing that pathetic excuse, Lily absolutely lost it. She raised her hand and slapped him as hard as physically possible. It left a bright red mark right across his face. Blake was absolutely stunned. Lily, you dare hit me? Do not forget I control the entire Grayson group now. If we turn on each other, I will gladly crush the Lily family too. Since the exact moment Lily barged in and caught his cheating, we all knew she would explode, but he honestly never expected her to actually strike him down. He stood up tall, glaring with pure venom, laughing dangerously. Lily, I am not some little boy you can boss around anymore. You touch me, you will pay the price. Lily looked right up at him, her gaze sharper and colder than he had ever witnessed. It made his stomach twist with deep unease. Then try it. Just try it. She let go, shoved him away hard, and walked out without even looking back. Blake just rubbed his cheek. He ground his teeth, his eyes filled with pure hatred. Her harsh words kept echoing in his ears. I was blind throwing Arthur away for you. She actually regretted it, regretted everything for a dead guy. He dug his nails deep into his palms. Just you wait, Lily. While he was busy plotting revenge, his assistant Colin knocked on the door. "Sir, your television interview is this afternoon." Once Blake finally calmed himself down, he headed to the lobby. The broadcasting van was all ready. Waiting outside, "Stick with me here because he just got in." At the studio, the host asked a few standard business questions. Then, a sudden pivot. "Mr. Grayson, we know you're adopted. Over the last 10 years, have you ever actually thought about finding your real parents?" The whole studio dropped into dead silence. Terrible feeling washed over Blake. Then his absolute worst nightmare literally walked right through the doors. An older, weather-beaten, poorly dressed couple frantically rushed onto the stage. The second that woman spotted Blake, she lunged, completely wrapping him in a massive bear hug, wailing dramatically without dropping a single actual tear. "Blake, we're so sorry. Your dad and I were just too poor. We couldn't raise you." Her annoying cries echoed through the whole studio. The camera pushed in close, catching every single micro-expression on Blake's face. He totally froze. Stiff, blood running pure cold. His eyes went wide with absolute horror as he looked right at the front row. His adoptive father sat there, his lips curled into a brutal, vengeful smirk. In one terrifying split second, Blake understood everything. His adoptive father had finally tracked down his real trashy parents, partnered with the TV station, trapping him here to expose his abandoned slum kid roots to the entire watching world. The very second he stepped onto that stage, his perfect life collapsed. Now, let's rewind 3 months where our MC had flawlessly executed his fake death plan and officially taken up the mantle of Zachary Sterling, her wealthy son, with Madame Sterling resting safely at her mountain estate due to poor health. Every single business matter for the Sterling Empire fell directly to Zachary. "Young master, there's a huge Euro-Asian summit happening tonight. As the lead investor, you really need to show up." His assistant, Colin, who Zachary had cleverly poached, looked at him nervously while he sat in his sharp custom suit reviewing contracts. "The heiress of the Vance family will also be attending. If you skip it, it might look way too arrogant and offend people." Zachary did even bother looking up, just giving a faint him. Colin's eyes lit up. "Boss, you'll actually go." Zachary finally looked up, frowning a bit. "Is there a problem?" "Not at all. I'll get your formal wear and the styling team prepped right now. I swear you'll outshine everyone." Seeing his ridiculous level of enthusiasm, Zachary shook his head, planning to tell him to keep things totally low-key, but Colin had already dashed out the door. Zachary just sighed and went right back to the contract. When a video call suddenly popped up, he didn't plan on answering, but his finger accidentally tapped the screen. A gorgeous face with super delicate features instantly appeared. Seeing he actually answered, Victoria Vance relaxed her deep frown, her tone totally teasing. "Zachary, why do you keep ignoring me?" She was 3 years older than him. They had met at a club the night he finished faking his death. His mood was absolutely wrecked, and he definitely had way too much to drink. Under the moody lights, she boldly made the first move, walking up with her wavy hair sparkling, earrings, and a face that could literally hypnotize people. Zachary's cold heart actually skipped a beat. Caught up in the blurry vibe, they ended up having a wild, crazy night together. The next morning, he left a bank card with 200 grand sitting on the nightstand, figuring it was fair compensation for her nightly services. 200 grand, that's pretty generous. Guess you were really satisfied, she had laughed, assuming she was just some high-end club girl and not wanting to drag things out. Zachary tossed her another million as hush money, but you and I couldn't have predicted that 3 days later at a massive family banquet, she would literally show. Turns out she's the heiress to the Vance family, the Sterling family's biggest corporate rival. They played nice publicly, but you and I know they secretly hated each other. He panicked, actually dodging her for days. Vicky got super impatient and threatened to drag her grandmother straight to the Sterling estate to demand his hand in marriage. Obviously, he couldn't let her cause a total diplomatic disaster, so he caved. She demanded a title. In private, he had to call her his girlfriend or wife. Vicky was completely shameless about it. Our poor guy had absolutely no choice but to agree, but give this girl an inch, she takes a mile, she demanded daily. Video calls forced him into weekend dates, and whenever he went on a business trip, she would literally fly there just to stalk him. She even accused him of running. She threatened to march up to Mrs. Sterling tomorrow and demand absolute justice. Lately, he was way too terrified to even pick up his phone, but right now. Vicky leaned close to the camera, those narrow, gorgeous eyes completely full of pure temptation. She asked if she should come over or if he was visiting hers. He had to pick. He instantly knew what she meant, tensing up but maintaining his perfect poker face. He warned Victoria she was being a little too eager lately. Sure, she was young and energetic, but she really needed to pace herself. Vicky just narrowed her eyes. She wasn't scared of anything. This girl just absolutely loved playing these little games. Sure enough, she stood right up, wearing only a tiny silk dress. Those faint marks on her collarbone left by him were totally visible, making his face flush completely. She threatened to go show Mrs. Sterling right this second exactly how he bullied her last night. Completely defeated, he accepted her ridiculous demands, promising to visit her place after the big banquet. The Euro-Asian summit was absolutely packed with A-listers and corporate titans. The media was in a total frenzy. Cameras flashing everywhere like strobe lights. When the Vance family's Bentley finally pulled up, reporters swarmed it like bees. Vicky stepped right out in this sleek black dress, hair styled in an elegant bun. Her flawless face just radiated this incredible noble, untouchable aura. Everywhere she went, people bowed and respectfully greeted her. When our MC arrived, Vicky hadn't gotten very far. They were just a few feet apart. Then, some reporter suddenly screamed that the Sterling family's young master had arrived. Hearing his title, Vicky's distant, icy gaze instantly lit up. She completely stopped walking, grabbed a pen, and started signing a fan's autograph with serious dramatic flair, a wicked smile on her lips. He knew she was lingering around on purpose, so he quickly sped up just to walk past her. But suddenly, his leather shoe slipped hard on the slick carpet. He pitched forward, a hand shot out, catching him flawlessly. Vicky just looked down at him, her eyes dancing with pure amusement. She joked he couldn't even walk straight, asking if he was exhausted lately. He just frowned, glaring right at her. In those few seconds, the hungry reporters went absolutely feral, snapping endless photos. But get this, he didn't think much of the minor slip-up. But halfway through the banquet, Vicky texted him a link to the #1 trending topic online. Vance heiress catches Sterling heir, a match made high society heaven. His vision practically went dark. If Mrs. Sterling saw this mess, she would completely blow a gasket. He frantically ordered his team to scrub the entire internet and stepped outside to a quiet courtyard, calling Mrs. Sterling to test the dangerous waters. Then in the distance, he spotted some adults surrounding a small child, aggressively shoving the kid got tossed around. "You little rat, stealing from us. Now I will teach you a lesson since your dead parents didn't." The angry staff raised their feet to kick, but Sterling's assistant, Harvey, frowned and stepped in. The kid, taking the beating, was absolutely filthy, painfully skinny, and clutching a greasy chicken leg for dear life. Sterling glared at the crowd. "You and I know a chicken leg isn't worth beating a child over." The entire group froze. The head chef recognized Sterling and frantically rushed over, nervously explaining, "Mr. Sterling, it's not just the chicken leg. You see, this kid is a serial thief. Last time, they stole an entire basket of premium cucumbers worth tens of thousands." Sterling just looked down at the kid. The trembling child quickly lowered their head. Clearly, this kid had no family left. Sterling simply sighed. Ordering the kitchen to bring out actual food, he told Harvey to completely compensate the venue for anything the kid had taken. The kitchen staff moved quickly, bringing out an absolute feast. The kid ate like a starving animal. Sterling couldn't bear to watch, gently patting the kid's back. "Eat slower, there's plenty." Hearing this, the child slowly let their guard down. Sterling learned the kid's parents were gone, and the grandmother they relied on had just passed away days ago. Those expensive sea cucumbers Were stolen just to pay hospital bills. Sterling's heart completely melted. He pulled out a handkerchief to gently wipe the kid's greasy mouth, but the child panicked and dodged away. No, don't, I'm dirty. I'll ruin your nice clothes. Seeing the pure fear in those huge eyes, Sterling made a massive decision on the spot. He would adopt this boy. But wait, after giving the kid a bath, Sterling realized this little girl was actually a boy. My name is Theo, he said softly. Grandma told me if I pretended to be a girl, I wouldn't get beaten up as much. Sterling's heart ached, pulling him into a tight hug. Theo was way more mature than other kids his age. He dressed himself every single morning, made his own bed, finished his homework in total silence, and purposely ate very small portions, absolutely desperate to prove he wasn't a burden. To break the ice, Sterling took him out to an amusement park that weekend. They rode the carousel together. Wearing his favorite Blue Prince outfit and Mickey Mouse ears, Theo finally flashed his first genuine smile for Sterling's camera. It was also the very first time he boldly asked for something. I want an ice cream cone. Sterling proudly praised his courage. Since it was his first time actually asking for something, he totally deserved a massive reward. Sterling held his hand, walking toward the ice cream stand. Now watch closely. This exact scene was spotted by Mia, who happened to be nearby. She frowned hard, her big round eyes welling up with tears, but remembering her dad absolutely hated crying kids, she bit her lip, forced those tears back, and screamed out, "Dad!" She sprinted over and to Theo's utter shock, she violently shoved him to the dirt before wrapping her arms super tightly around Sterling's leg. He was completely stunned. Theo hit the ground hard, letting out a small yelp, but quickly scrambled right back to his feet. Even though his beloved prince outfit was ruined with dirt, he fought back his own tears, nervously wringing his hands. As he stared at Mia, Mia just snorted, glaring at him with pure venom. "This is my dad, you little thief." Hearing that awful word, Theo couldn't hold it back anymore. His lips trembled as tears finally fell. Sterling's heart shattered for him. He peeled Mia off his leg, walked straight over, and scooped Theo up, speaking incredibly gently. "Don't cry, Theo, I am only your dad. I belong to you." That sentence absolutely broke Mia. Watching her father comfort Theo, her lips quivered and heavy tears cascaded down her. Tears streamed down her face. She begs him, why won't he even look at her? Does he really not want her anymore? Zachary just holds Theo, staring coldly down at Mia with zero emotion. He tells her he doesn't know her. His only son is named Theo. "Go back to your family." Mia completely loses it, desperately grabbing his pant leg. "You're my dad, I'm not leaving." She screams that Uncle Blake is awful. He locked her in a dark room and starved her. He's a monster. Zachary pauses, only then does he notice it. Mia's clothes are completely torn, shoes full of holes and nasty scrapes cover her legs. She actually ran away. But wait, in his past life didn't Blake treat her like absolute royalty? Has fate really changed this drastically? Even though he no longer sees Mia as his daughter, Zachary still calls the police and has them notify Lily. 10 minutes later, Lily comes sprinting in, looking completely frantic. "Mom," Mia cheers. Lily immediately crushes her into a tight hug. Mia sobs uncontrollably. "Mom, make Dad come home. Uncle Blake is awful. He's a bad man." Her wails feel like a literal knife twisting in Lily's heart. She chokes back heavy grief. Speaking so softly, "Mia, Dad is gone." "No, I just saw him." Mia suddenly screams. "Dad must be mad at me. He was playing with another boy. I cried, but he's didn't even look." Lily freezes. Frantic now, she demands to know, "Mia, did you actually see your dad?" Mia nods super fast, swearing she's telling the absolute truth. Lily's heart hammers against her ribs. If Mia saw Zachary too, it means Lily hadn't been hallucinating at the club that night. But what does Mia mean when she says Zachary has a new boy? Wasting zero time, she literally drags Mia to the security room to check the tapes. And wait for it, right there on the monitor is a guy who looks exactly like Zachary. She instantly calls up the Grayson family to report the huge news. "All right, you and I skip to the next day." Zachary arrives the second he Walks through the door, bam. A pair of arms yanks him into a super tight hug. Vicky's signature light floral perfume fills the air. The intense heat of her body seeps right through her thin blouse, her breath tickling his ear. How dare you stand me? Up the other night, she whispers, playfully biting his earlobe. It actually wasn't a hard bite, but it makes his ears burn. I had things to do, Zachary replies, voice slightly husky as her fingers mischievously trail right across his chest. Vicky lets out a soft laugh, still pressed against his ear. What could possibly be more important than a date with me? I adopted a kid, Zachary says bluntly. Vicky thinks she definitely misheard him, finding the excuse both totally absurd and hilarious. She squeezes him tighter, teasing, if you liked kids that much, you should have just told me. We could have just made one. Zachary jams his elbow into her ribs, and while she's momentarily distracted by the sudden pain, he smoothly walks over to his desk. Regaining his cool composure, didn't we agree not to interfere with each other's private lives? Vicky scoffs lightly. How can I not? I didn't see you for a few days and suddenly you have a kid. Next thing you'll pop up with a wife and toss me to the curb. Her words are absolutely dripping with jealousy. Zachary frowns. That remains to be seen. That sentence makes Vicky totally freeze, but you and I know Zachary Sterling is notoriously picky. It isn't like just any random woman could catch his eye. Besides, in this high society circle, who could possibly even compete with the heiress of the Vance family? Confident in her strategy, her mind starts spinning faster than a gold digger aiming for the very top. Then, the office door suddenly opens. Colin walks in, all smiles, but the second he spots Vicky, his face turns white. Miss Vance, why are you here? Sterling shoots Vicky a look, warning her not to say anything stupid, because to the rest of the world, their families are bitter rivals. Vicky catches the drift immediately, snapping right back into her freezing professional act. I am here for business. Business, Colin asks, totally lost. Are you looking to partner with young Master Sterling to buy out the Grayson Group? Hearing that name, our MC narrows his eyes. Wait, what happened to them? Realizing his boss missed the headlines, Colin practically skips over, dropping a bomb. The Grayson Group CEO, Blake Grayson, is headed to prison. Prison, Sterling frowns, based on his memories of his past life. Blake wasn't due for criminal charges for another 6 months. Why the sudden change? Colin hands over his phone, showing a viral family reunion show. Stick with me here. Right there on stage, Blake's real parents show up, grabbing him and crying their eyes out. Blake looks completely disgusted. His face goes pale, then green. Finally snapping entirely, he violently shoves them back. What biological parents? I have no idea who you people are. He glares at the host, voice trembling with absolute fury. Where did you drag these stray dogs from to falsely claim me? I'm not letting this slide. See you in court. But the host, Stella, stays totally cool and polite. Mr. Grayson, before inviting you, we reached out to your adoptive father, Richard Grayson. He supplied a DNA sample. After testing it, we confirmed you are absolutely the biological child of this couple. Still doubting it? We can run another test right here on the show today, and we are very happy to face you in court. Right then, Sterling's dad steps onto the stage. His testimony totally backs up the host. I can confirm everything she said is true. Hearing this, Blake absolutely loses it, screaming at the crew to cut the feed, but his famous arrogance had already made him 0 friends, so instead of turning off the cameras, they zoom right in on his ugly, furious reaction. The raw, unedited footage gets broadcast live to the whole world. By the end of the day, Blake's public meltdown is the #1 trending topic. Netizens turn his screaming face into memes and GIFs, spreading like absolute wildfire. He becomes a national joke overnight. Blake tries to fight back, threatening to sue anyone posting his memes, but nobody cares. It just triggers an even bigger wave of backlash. He actually does sue a few folks, and while he technically wins, he only gets 20 grand in emotional damages each. This petty Stunt just enrages the internet more. Soon, every single skeleton in his closet gets dragged out. You and I are gonna love this. Scamming women while studying abroad, faking his college degrees, stealing his adoptive parents' assets, refusing to help his sick mom, and marrying his sister-in-law before his brother's body was even cold. These endless scandals completely nuke his entire reputation. People start sending him death threats and actual knives, demanding he return the company to Sterling's dad. Ultimately, Blake loses his legal battles and vanishes from the public eye completely. Our MC isn't surprised by this outcome at all. His only regret is the Grayson group itself. Vicky checks her phone, reading a text from Stella. Miss Vance, the job is done. She smirks and replies, perfect. You can come pick up the Lamborghini whenever you want. Meanwhile, our MC has totally no idea about the dirty tricks she's pulling behind the scenes. Hearing that the Grayson group is officially going bankrupt and liquidating, he decides to make his move. Contact the Grayson group, tell them we're willing to buy them out at market price. Yes, young master. Colin turns to leave, not forgetting to shoot Vicky a highly curious glance. Our guy leans back in his chair, just massaging his temples. A light floral scent drifts over, reminding him that Vicky is still right there. He looks up just as she leans over the desk and plants a soft kiss on his forehead. You want to buy the Grayson group? She rests her chin on her hand, looking at him with a calculating, suggestive smile. Are you trying to compete with me? They both represent the interests of two massive corporations. Even though the Grayson group is a juicy piece of meat, the Vance family won't give it up easily. He always keeps his business and pleasure strictly separated, no matter how incredible Vicky is in bed. When it comes to corporate interests, he won't pull his punches, but to his total surprise, Vicky goes quiet for a few seconds before laughing softly. I was fully prepared to fight you for it to the bitter end, but since you want it so badly, I'll let you have it. Her willing concession catches him completely off guard. Her slender fingers gently trace his eyebrow, her gaze incredibly soft. As compensation, you have to have dinner with me tonight. Before he can even answer, she presses a finger to his lips, leans into his ear, and whispers, and by dinner I mean you have to make sure I am completely full. His face instantly goes up in flames. On the day of the Grayson Group acquisition, he doesn't even go in person. He sends two senior executives while he supervises via video link. Now watch this. On screen, his dad and Lily walk into the conference room. The relentless barrage of lawsuits has severely aged his dad significantly. He looks totally exhausted and hollow after reviewing the contract. Lily suddenly asks, all the other companies are using this crisis to aggressively lowball us. Why is Sterling willing to pay the standard market price? The female executive closes the folder, offering a very polite but distant smile. This is a direct instruction from our CEO. His dad looks at Lily, suddenly remembering the photo from the Euro-Asian summit she had shown him. The young Sterling heir in that photo looks exactly like his son. His eyes instantly turn red. Before the Sterling team leaves, he desperately stops the executive, his voice trembling with awkward but desperate hope. Could you ask your CEO if he would be willing to have a meal with me someday? The executive doesn't answer him, simply looking directly into the laptop camera. From his side of the screen, our MC's voice rings out cold and merciless. No need. His dad freezes, his heart flooding with a suffocating bit agony. He knows he absolutely doesn't deserve forgiveness. He turns away, wiping his tears. He shuts the laptop and looks toward the bathroom. Vicky is sitting. They're wearing a black silk blindfold. Her wrists and ankles are bound with silk ribbons. He narrows his eyes. Victoria, exactly how many degenerate games do you know that I haven't seen yet? Vicky walks over, half kneeling in front of him, and presses a kiss to the back of his hand. That's for you too. All right, we start here. Her hand slid up his thighs, totally aggressive. She brought a pressure he simply could not refuse, taking absolute control. She forced his breath to hitch. His temperature spiked under her touch. Zack frowned at her blindfolded face. Tonight, she was the absolute predator. Even through that silk, her intense gaze felt like it was scorching him. A wild, chaotic night kicked off. They did not stop until dawn broke. Early the next morning, a loud, steady knocking violently woke Zack right up. He squeezed his eyes shut, shifting slightly. His entire body ached like crazy. He shook his head groggily, trying his best to push away Vicky's extremely heavy arm draped over his waist. Outside their door, the old butler called out, "Young master, madam is here." That simple sentence about Madam Sterling arriving truly woke Zack up way faster than a bucket of freezing ice water could. He looked at Vicky, sleeping soundly next to him, his heart hammered wildly. He tried to shake her awake. Instead, she lazily pulled him right back. She mumbled sleepily, "Baby, sleep a little longer. Madam Sterling is here." Zack clapped his hand right over her mouth. Vicky's eyes instantly snapped open. Seeing his beet red face in a massive panic, he whispered fiercely, "Stay here. Do not go out. If she finds out about us." Zack could not finish. Vicky frowned instead, grabbing his wrist with a wicked grin. "What about us?" He totally ignored her, jumping out of bed to rapidly throw clothes on. He grew more panicked by the second, but Vicky remained completely unfazed. Even with the family butler standing right outside, she just casually propped up her head, leisurely watching him scramble into his pants like an absolute madman. Before leaving the room, Zack hurled a heavy pillow right at her head. "Stay hidden." Outside, the butler coughed awkwardly. "Young master, madam is waiting." He sprinted out to the back garden, instantly spotting the elegant Madam Sterling. Wearing a stunning cheongsam, she stood gracefully right by the koi pond. She was nearly 70, but her noble aura was undeniably strong and sharp. Zack's adoptive mother, Madam Sterling, was calmly dropping fish food into the pond. She sat down under the large parasol and silently gestured for him to sit. Aside from major holidays, she rarely sought him out and always gave advance notice for visits. "You and I both know this means serious trouble." She sat in absolute silence, just as Zack picked up his hot teacup, bracing himself. Before he could even sip, she dropped a bomb. "How long have you and the Vance girl been dating?" Zack practically spat his hot tea right out. He hesitated, debating a confession, when she continued, "Do not hide it. Matters between men and women are normal. I will not forbid it, but out of everyone, why choose that little demon from the infamous Vance family? Do you have any idea how insanely manipulative and cunning she truly is? You are brilliant at business, Zack, but way too green at reading people. She will have you completely wrapped around her little finger in just 3 sentences. It is not too late. Cut ties immediately." But right then, a crisp, familiar voice suddenly rang out from right behind Zack. "Madam, listen. There is a saying, better to tear down a temple than destroy a marriage. Why talk trash behind my back?" Zack whipped around. "We are in for chaos." "All right, stick with me here." Zack jumps up, puts on an angry face, and tries to shove Vicky away. "Victoria, who told you to come out? Get out, leave right now." But how can he push Victoria Vance away when she is feeling this? Stubborn, refusing to back down, she grabs his hand, tightly interlacing their fingers, and stands firmly right beside him to face Mrs. Sterling. Mrs. Sterling slowly looks up. Her terrifying, authoritative aura literally makes the hair on Zack's arms stand up. He goes pale. "Mom, I'm sorry, it's not her fault." Vicky stands perfectly straight, looking Mrs. Sterling right in the eyes. Speaking with absolute clarity, "I was the one who actively seduced Zack. I like him, and I've decided he is the only man for me for life. If you want to punish someone, aim it at me. This whole thing has nothing to do with Zack." His wildly panicking heart suddenly calms down. He looks at Vicky in absolute shock. She just looks back, squeezing his hand so reassuringly. Mrs. Sterling narrows her eyes, glaring at them coldly. "What is wrong with you? Vance women, do you all have a genetic obsession with stealing from the Sterlings? 30 years ago, Mrs. Vance stole my adopted brother. now my adopted son, is being stolen by her granddaughter. Is there seriously something wrong with your family's brains? Vicky's expression doesn't change at all, delivering a line that almost makes Zack choke. Who can blame us when men of the Sterling family are just so irresistible? But for the record, when I met Zack, he didn't have the last name Sterling yet. The first time Vicky met him was in an alley. Now watch this flashback. Back then, she was hunted by enemies and severely wounded, bleeding out, thinking she was totally going to die. That was when Zack, wearing his school uniform, walked by, a young boy with a clean face and a warm, clear voice. That day, he took his jacket off and used it to help stop her heavy bleeding. The faint smell of laundry soap on that jacket was something she just never forgot. After that incident, she caused massive trouble and her grandmother shipped her off abroad to study. By the time she returned, Zack was already married. She waited all those years, biding her time patiently, until he was single again, even if he was her rival's adopted son, even if it cost her life. She was willing to risk everything. Hearing this wild story, Mrs. Sterling falls completely silent. Zack stands there totally dumbfounded, taking a long time to process everything. Half a minute later, his eyes turn red as he asks her, You were the girl who used to follow me back then." After Zack was brought to the Grayson house, Blake constantly paid local thugs to bully and beat him up. One time he fought back and ended up saving a girl with short hair and incredibly sharp eyes. From that day on, she frequently hung around his school gates. At dismissal, she never said a word, just quietly trailed behind him like a bodyguard until he got home safely. Vicky frowns, looking genuinely offended now. "What do you mean, that girl? I went to an elite private academy. We let out at 3:30. I went out of my way to wait for you." Zack bites his lip, quiet, but he looks at her with eyes filled with undeniable joy. Right at that moment, Mrs. Sterling's icy voice cuts in. "I don't care what kind of romantic history you two share, as long as you are a member of the Vance family. Don't even dream about taking Zack." Vicky's face instantly darkens. Zack looks serious, but wait for this. Zack quietly let go of Vicky's hand. He couldn't betray Mrs. Sterling and break her heart. Not after everything she had done for him. Mrs. Sterling tossed a beautifully crafted dagger right onto the table. "Pay the debt," she said. If her grandmother's debt was finally settled, she might actually let Vicky and Zack be together. Vicky's eyes instantly dropped to Mrs. Sterling's right wrist, catching sight of a heavy jade bracelet. Years ago, Mrs. Vance used a needle to permanently ruin Mrs. Sterling's right hand. Now, if Vicky wanted to settle the score, she had to sacrifice her own hand. Vicky looked at Zack. Seeing his absolute horror, she just shook her head. Her heart ached, sure, but what was one hand compared to losing him? If this finally ended the family feud forever, she would do it. She raised the dagger high, aiming straight down at her hand. "Don't," Zack screamed out, lunging forward and slamming his hand right over hers. Click, the sharp blade just retracted harmlessly into the hilt. Both of their hands were completely fine. They stared at Mrs. Sterling in total shock. She just gave a snort, took a slow sip of her tea and calmly said, "Well, at least this girl has some serious guts." Zack let out a massive sigh of relief, smiling as he carefully asked, "Then the feud between the two families?" Mrs. Sterling set her teacup down, stood up, and began walking away, her voice drifting back to them. "Once you marry her and bring her into this house, make sure you properly annoy her grandmother for me as revenge." They both instantly understood. She had actually given her blessing. Vicky tackled Zack into a massive hug, planting kisses all over his face and forehead, her voice incredibly soft. "Let's get our marriage certificate tomorrow morning, okay?" She admitted she was terrified something else might happen if they waited. Her absolutely desperate and insecure pleading made Zack laugh out loud. Their wedding was scheduled for the 1st of the following month, but Vicky pleaded and begged until she finally dragged him to the registry office to get the paperwork done early. "Husband, I finally have an official title." Holding the marriage certificate, the happy couple walked toward Her Maybach parked on the street. Suddenly, a voice called out, "Zack," completely. Froze, turning around, you and I see Lily holding little Mia's hand. Both. Mother and daughter had red, puffy eyes as they stared at him. Mia bit her lip. Choking on a sob, "Dad," Vicky looked right up, her gaze turning incredibly hostile. Terrifying Mia so much she didn't dare step closer. She just gripped the hem of Lily's shirt, staring at Vicky with wide eyes. Lily's face instantly darkened, recognizing Vicky as the woman who had crashed her wedding and caused a massive scene. Vicky casually wrapped her arm right around Zack's waist, her narrow eyes locking onto Mia. Her tone was casual but laced with pure ice. "Little girl, you can eat whatever you want, but you cannot just call anyone whatever you want." Mia's lips trembled. But she gathered every ounce of courage she had and screamed out, "He is my dad." She lunged forward, trying to shove Vicky, tears welling in her angry eyes. "Don't touch my dad, you are a bad lady." Vicky just rubbed her temples, getting a headache from this unruly brat, thinking about how perfectly sweet and well-behaved Arth Theo was. She made a mental note never to let a child turn out like this. She shot a judging look at Lily, her expression practically screaming, "You clearly do not know how to raise a kid. Do you want me to do it for you?" Lily was furious, but she completely refused to let her daughter cause a scene in public. Lily pulls Mia back, her voice dead serious. "Stand still, Mia." In the scuffle, a button pops loose on Mia's coat. Lily carefully fastens it right back up for her. Back in the day, Zachary handled those chores. We know he actually thought she never paid attention, but seeing her care for Mia so gently now, he feels this really strange sense of closure. "Mr. Sterling," Lily whispers, her voice completely shaking. "I am so sorry, we were just too abrupt." "It is fine," he replies. Lily just stares at him, her eyes absolutely overflowing with intense longing and crushing guilt. She knows exactly who he is. The husband who supposedly died is right there. But she lacks the courage to beg for his forgiveness. Pure regret consumes every single corner of her broken heart. She is just about to ask him out to dinner when Vicky suddenly thrusts their marriage certificate high into the air, keeping her arm wrapped tight around him. She silently, aggressively stakes her absolute claim. Lily chokes back a bitter sob, forcing out a single word, "Congratulations." He opens his mouth to reply, but Vicky beats him to the punch. "Thanks, CEO Lily, we will totally send you an invitation to the wedding." The very second she finishes speaking, she practically drags Zachary away, refusing to give Lily even one more second to talk. Watching their intimate, retreating backs, Lily is entirely consumed by toxic jealousy. She cannot stop thinking that the woman walking shoulder to shoulder with Arthur Grayson should have been her, but she is the one who threw him away. Mia anxiously tugs at her mother's sleeve. "Mom, Dad is leaving with someone else. Why are we not chasing him? Let's go." Lily's feet feel like they are cast in heavy lead. She does not even know if she has the right to chase him anymore. Back when Arthur gave his heart and soul to her, in his darkest hour, she chose Blake. Now he is the heir to the Sterling family, his status completely untouchable. Get this, standing right beside him is Victoria Vance, a woman matching him perfectly in power, immense wealth, and total devotion. How could Lily dare to ruin his life again? Gritting her teeth, she grabs Mia's hand and walks in the exact opposite direction. "Mia, let Dad go find his own happiness." Now on the drive back, Vicky grips his hand with a terrifying strength. It is like she is terrified that if she lets go, he will vanish forever. Zachary knows exactly what she is worried about. He sighs. "Vicky, I am not going to leave you, but you are gripping so hard you will break my fingers." Vicky takes a deep breath, frowning heavily as she finally loosens her grip. "I am sorry, just scared." "Scared of what?" "Scared that our bond is not deep enough. You two were together for 7 whole years. If Lily shamelessly throws herself at you, then what? If you fall for her again?" Vicky is normally the most brilliantly calculating, level-headed person in any room. She was literally trained from birth never to show emotions, and in all their time together, Zachary has never seen her this genuinely Anxious and insecure, she really is terrified that Lily might actually steal him back. He feels both touched and incredibly amused by this. Arthur Grayson is dead, his past memories and love, all scattered into the wind, never ever to return, but Zachary Sterling chose her. He chose Victoria Vance, Vicky's tense. Frown relaxes, but she looks at him with dead serious intensity. Then can you kiss me once every single day, like stamping a daily seal of approval? Her totally childish demand almost makes him laugh out loud. He pretends to ignore her and he turned his head to look out the window. Suddenly, her hand grabbed the back of his neck, forcefully turning his head back. She crashed her lips onto his, kissing him so deeply, it felt like she was trying to suck the oxygen from his lungs. She did not stop until he was dizzy and gasping for air. Her eyes were overflowing with possessive affection, her voice dangerously sweet. If you do not take the initiative, I will. I am never giving you the chance to run away. Now watch this. Days before the wedding, Zachary received a massive gift box, he thought. It was another extravagant present from Vicky, but when he opened it, he found a flawless Hessian jade pendant. Attached was a simple handwritten note. This is a family heirloom. Your grandfather gave it to me when I got married. Now I am giving it to you. I hope your marriage is a happy one. He instantly knew who had sent it. Complex, bitter feelings spread through his chest. Back when he needed his family the most, they poured every ounce of their love into Blake. Now that Arthur was dead, they suddenly wanted to make amends. Arthur Grayson might have eventually forgiven them, but Zachary Sterling never would. He sealed the box back up and had his assistant return it. Mr. Grayson, the assistant politely told Zachary's dad, young master. Sterling says he appreciates the sentiment, but this item is far too valuable. He cannot accept it. Please keep it. His dad stared at the rejected jade pendant, sitting in stunned silence for hours. Not long after that, he fell severely ill, his mind slowly deteriorating into total dementia. He wandered around carrying a photo album of Zachary's childhood, showing it to anyone who would listen, telling sad stories about his son. Sometimes he would even mistake strangers for Zachary, repeating over and over, "Dad was wrong. Dad is so sorry." But you and I know none of that mattered to Zachary anymore. He and Vicky threw the wedding of the century. It was called that not just because the guest list was a massive who is who of billionaires and celebrities, but because Mrs. Sterling and Mrs. Vance, two angry matriarchs who had hated each other for decades, finally called a truce for their sake. For the wedding, the two old rivals had to sit at the exact same table. Outwardly, they smiled and clinked glasses, but inwardly they were probably plotting each other's demise. Vicky and Zachary were sweating bullets the entire reception, terrified the moms would start throwing hands. Miraculously, they made it through without a single brawl. When the wedding finally ended, Zachary collapsed onto the bed, completely exhausted, ripping off his tie. Vicky walked over slowly, pulling the pins out of her elaborate hairdo. Her fingers lightly traced his jaw, her eyes burning with undeniable intent. He tried to roll away and escape, but she clamped down on his wrist like a vice. While he struggled, she grabbed a bottle of massage oil, awkwardly rubbing it onto his shoulders. "Husband, what are you thinking about? Your face is so red." She smirked mischievously, quickly correcting herself. "Ah, wait, I cannot call you Zack anymore. I have to call you husband." She leaned in close, pressing a feather-light kiss to his lips, her voice completely dripping with temptation. "Husband, the night is long. You are not allowed to complain that you're tired." Zachary was completely speechless. He knew a woman with a mind as wicked as Victoria Vance would never let him off easily tonight. Their intertwined silhouettes were clearly visible through the bedroom window. Outside the massive villa, a woman stood watching. Lily looked completely chalk white, her heart shattering. It felt like being repeatedly stabbed by 1,000 sharp needles. "Arthur," she whispered. She looked exactly like a wandering, soulless ghost. Meanwhile, upstairs, Vicky gently pulled the heavy blankets over him, kissing his forehead before slipping quietly out of the room, checking the security feed on the tablet. Her eyes narrowed, that gaze turned cold enough to instantly freeze. Hell over, she walked right out into the chilly night air, her black gown flowing. Behind her, marching straight toward Lily, the two women fiercely faced each other, looking intensely hostile. The bitter jealousy in Lily's eyes burned just like a knife, desperate to shred Vicky to pieces. I thought I heard a stray Persian cat whining out here. Turns out it is just another animal trespassing. Vicky sneered, lighting a slim cigarette. She took a drag, blowing the stark white smoke into the wind. Her eyes showed absolute mockery. Lily's face instantly turned green, her teeth grinding hard. Victoria, you manipulative snake, even if you use dirty tricks to steal him, he will eventually wake up and come back to me. Our family of three will reunite eventually. Honestly, she had zero confidence in her own words, but she desperately clung to the illusion of their past love, especially using Mia as leverage. Vicky frowned, her cold expression rapidly darkening. But wait for it, a sweet child's voice called out from behind them. Mom, little Theo, clutching a toy robot, walked over and quickly grabbed Vicky's hand. Her icy demeanor melted instantly, all the fierce anger vanishing. She crouched down, picking him up with a soft smile. It is so late, why aren't you asleep? Theo glared right at Lily. I was scared that bad lady was going to bully you, Mom. That highly protective glare actually made Lily flinch in sheer embarrassment. Vicky laughed softly, totally flexing on Lily. Did you hear that? The son Zack and I are raising just called you a bad lady. She placed heavy emphasis on the word bad. Theo, who had woken up in the middle of the night just to defend his mom, buried his tiny face in her shoulder. His clear voice rang out again. Let's go home, Mom. The wind is freezing cold. If you catch a cold, Dad will worry so much. Those exact words were the absolute final nail in the coffin for Lily. She frowned in pure agony, her chest completely flooding with devastating sorrow. Even if her daughter Mia was here, that spoiled girl would never say something so incredibly caring to her. Right in that moment, Lily's jealousy toward Vicky reached an absolute peak. Vicky just shot her one last disdainful glance, turning right around with Theo in her arms. Okay, let's go inside. If Dad wakes up, he will be looking for us. Mother and son walked into the warm, brightly lit villa. They left Lily standing completely alone in the freezing wind. A moment later, a family car pulled up, those headlights sharply cutting through the darkness. The driver stepped out, looking incredibly awkward. Miss, Madam told me to bring you home immediately. She said to stop embarrassing the family in front of the Vances. Lily ground her teeth. She never expected Vicky to be so viciously petty that she would actually call her mother. Utterly humiliated, face dark as thunder, Lily got straight into the car and left. So what happens next? The century's biggest wedding absolutely dominated every financial and gossip magazine for weeks. Everyone was endlessly jealous that he had managed to. Let's watch Arthur marry someone as brilliant and powerful as Victoria Vance. Vicky, who literally never used social media before, created an account the night of their wedding. Her very first post, just 5 words, I am the lucky one. After that, she spoiled Arthur to an absolutely absurd degree. He never lacked the newest supercars or limited edition watches. Plus, she gave herself a strict 9 p.m. curfew. It didn't matter how important a business dinner was or how much her friends begged her to stay out. The second the clock struck 9, she would apologize and leave. 9 p.m. is my curfew, she would declare proudly. Hi. Society loved teasing her, joking that the terrifying Vance Aries had actually turned into a total lovesick puppy after marriage. She did not flinch, just raised her glass with a smirk. I happily accept the title. After that, nobody dared mock her anymore. Honestly, they were just sick of all that blatant romance shoved down their throats. For Arthur's birthday, Vicky rented an ultra-luxury yacht and invited all their friends to celebrate. Theo, who had grown into a tall, incredibly handsome teenager, stood right on stage and played an absolutely breathtaking violin solo. I love you, Dad, he said, walking over to kiss Arthur's cheek, eyes full of admiration. This beautiful scene was secretly witnessed by Mia, who had somehow sneaked aboard. Her eyes were red. She bit her lip, desperately trying to fight back tears because she knew Arthur hated crying, misbehaving kids. When he finally stepped into the VIP lounge to rest, Mia suddenly blocked his path. With trembling hands, she offered him a drawing, a picture of a birthday cake, and right next to it were three stick figures holding hands, smiling brightly. Dad, happy birthday, Mia misses you so much. Arthur just looked at her. She had grown. Her chubby baby face had thinned out, looking more and more like Lily every single day, but her eyes were much gentler and clearer now. He calmly accepted the drawings. Thank you. Where is your family? Go home. Mia trailed behind him, her little voice full of grief. Mom does not know I came. The butler brought me. Before she could even finish, Lily's family bodyguards rushed in looking totally panicked. Miss, oh my God, you little tyrant, we finally found you. Seeing Arthur, they bowed awkwardly. Mr. Sterling, we are so incredibly sorry. We apologize for the disturbance. It is fine, he said, turning to leave. Arthur, Mia grabbed the tip of his finger. I don't want to go back. I was wrong, Dad. I'll fix it. I won't eat junk food anymore. Whatever you tell me, I promise I will never do it again. Please do not let them take me away. Arthur's heart gave a tiny, almost imperceptible ache. He stood in pure silence for a few seconds. Be a good girl, go home, he said slowly. He gently pried her fingers off his hand and walked away. After that crazy incident, Mia constantly tried sneaking over to the Vance estate to find him. Lily found out and spanked her several times, but she kept doing it anyway. Years later, Theo got accepted into the country's very top university. Mia, relying entirely on her dance talent, managed to get into that same school. Theo told Arthur she was always trying to take care of him on campus, even calling him Big Brother in front of everyone. Her goal was glaringly obvious. She just wanted to use Theo to get closer to Arthur. Vicky was having none of it. She set up ironclad boundaries, completely forbidding Theo from getting too close to Mia. And you know what? Even at middle age, Vicky remained ruthlessly. Zack stayed on high alert. Zero chance he'd give Lily an opening to slither back into his life. When Theo finally graduated, Zack and Vicky attended the ceremony. You and I know Lily and Mia showed up too, standing far back, watching Zack's new family take photos, their eyes full of pure, painful regret, their faces desperately masking that deep envy. Mia actually crept closer, stopping just a few feet away. She desperately wanted to photobomb their portrait, but Lily couldn't swallow her pride like that. She coughed softly, stepping right over to pull Mia away. But get this, from start to finish that day, Zack never once looked in their direction. That exact same year, his father passed away. Inside his will, he left the entire massive estate to Zack. The lawyer relayed one final message. He said, the assets are completely yours to use as you please. For the first 30 years of his life, Zack literally bled for the Graysons. This massive inheritance was built entirely on his sweat and tears, but he wanted absolutely nothing to do with the Grayson name ever again. With just one signature, he donated every single penny straight to a local orphanage. The day Zack went there to make it completely official, Vicky came along. They were instantly swarmed by excited reporters and the director, just politely exchanging greetings. Walking past a small street food stall, they noticed a city inspector aggressively screaming at the vendor, telling him to pack up his garbage and leave. The vendor threw himself into the dirt, pitching a huge tantrum. I am the eldest son of the Grayson family. How dare you touch me? I'll make you pay. For this, Zack looked over. It was Blake Grayson, hair completely white, wearing entirely filthy rags, and he was physically wrestling the furious city inspector. Over his cheap food cart, a massive, brutal scar slashed right across his face. Nasty souvenir from a prison fight. That arrogant, scheming, totally glamorous former executive was dead, completely erased by the ruthless passage of time. Looking down at This pathetic scene, you'd expect a rush of vengeance or triumph, right? Zack just felt a heavy sense of irony at fate's wild, unpredictable games. Vicky's gentle voice broke his focus. Zack, what's wrong? He smiled and just shook his head, his body feeling so incredibly light. Nothing. Let's go. Everything from the past had officially scattered like ash in the wind. The future, with all its beautiful years, was waiting for him. Theo looped an arm through his, glancing back at the screaming vendor. Blake caught the kid's eye and instantly ducked his head, absolutely terrified of eye contact. What a weird guy, Theo thought. The warm afternoon sun spilled across Zack's face,